Hello, Lions. I'm past District Governor Dave Wyman, Area Leader for Constitutional Area 1I, better known as the Midwest Lions Alliance. This video is the recorded session of Build a Team that was held on October 13th, 2022. It's a pleasure to thank Area Leader and past Council Chair Matt Hogenbeck, Area Leader for Area 5M, and past District Governor Gail Haight of Area 5CA2, which is Saskatchewan, Canada. Build a team is most frequently the initial building block for the GMA process. Many area leaders will do live replays of this process. Frequently, we will also help conduct the session for your district. It is our job to make your district a success. Our contact information is at the end slide. So together, let's build a team.
Let's get started with Build a Team. All right, so our agenda tonight, we're going to try to kind of keep this simple. This is one of 4 series, right? Build a team, build a vision, build a plan, build a success. And what we're going to do is an overview of the Global Membership Approach Program. Now, it used to be called NAMI for many of you folks, and you realize that. I'm sure many of you recognize that name. And also, how can we organize our team so that, what's the importance of building that team? And then the roles needed for our area to be successful and the next steps in this process. Now, we need everyone, please contribute your thoughts. I'm going to tell you, do not be afraid to say something tonight. We want to build the strongest teams possible. Now, I'm going to be honest with you folks tonight. This came up rather quick. I want to thank you for attending. We do have a policy. All right, in my area, I call it the Midwest Lions Alliance. It's Area 1I officially in the United States, and our area has a policy. If you need a replay or somebody missed, you know what? Replays are okay. If I've got open time in my schedule, please just send me an email and let me know that you would like to have a replay and what time you would like to have that. Give me like 3 different times and dates and I'll do it. And by the way, I'll even do that for Matt's area or Gail's area. And pardon me, I did forget. I should have wrote this down because I kept remembering. I got to introduce Gail. Can you just identify yourself and say hello? Gail, is it Haight? Is how you say your last name? She's past district governor.
It's Haight.
Haight.
Yeah, just like straight.
Okay. And Gail, you're from what area how do you do it in Canada?
I am from multiple District 5 SKN, and I am the CA2 area leader for Saskatchewan.
For Saskatchewan. And it's truly both a pleasure and an honor. And Gail, if you've got something that you want to throw in during this during this webinar, please just do so out of total respect. A lot of us were kind of caught short. We're a little bit slow getting started this year, just like many of our Lions are getting a little slow in getting started. So we're going to make the best of this, and truly appreciated everyone that was able to make it on this short notice. But do remember, there are replays, and if you need a private showing, we will even do that. And as an area leader, we offer, and actually I'm going to be doing one on the 22nd for Build a Vision. We will actually do, in some cases on site, but I'm starting to get time bound so that we will do them only by webinars. But we will do for your district, we will actually help you conduct the webinar to get any of the Build a series implemented inside your district. I strongly recommend that you look at these because the most successful districts are working together as teams and they're doing Build a. And I think you'll get an understanding for what the Build a Team, Build a Vision, Build a Plan, Build a Success is all about in just a few minutes here, because we're going to go over that. Okay. So let's move on.
Don't forget Matt.
Is Matt in yet? He's not.
Yes, he is. I can see him.
Yeah, I was the one who told you you were recording. I had internet issues, so I had to reboot. That's why I was a minute or two late.
My total apologies, Matt. We also
Alright.
have past council chair Matt. And how do you say your last name? Hugenvik?
It's pronounced Hugenvik, like it's 2 O's instead of a U.
There we go. All right. And Matt you're the area leader for which area?
I am the area leader for all of 5M, both the US and Canada side, and for the US side of 5.
Perfect.
So North and South Dakota.
So we can truly say tonight we have an international presence, and you know
Absolutely.
what? We're operating like true lions. God bless us all. So, all right. So let's move on here. As soon as I can hit the little button, and it wants to move. There we go. All right. So, you know, why are we lions? You know, let's start with that fundamental question. And maybe 2 people out of the audience, and that's how I'm going to do this most of the night. 1 or 2 people, just just unmute and tell me, why are you a lion? Not all at once.
The joy of serving others.
Joy of serving others. Thank you. Second Vice Shannon.
Family tradition.
Family tradition. You know, 2 very good reasons, isn't it? And I think we've all heard them before, isn't it? Now, here's our vision and our mission statements for Lions Club International. Is our vision to be the global leader in community and humanitarian service. Now, you know, a lot of times we just skip over this stuff, don't we? And then we look at our mission to empower volunteers to serve their communities, meet humanitarian needs, encourage peace, and promote international understanding through Lions Clubs. Now, just a couple people, what do those words mean to you?
I see it as people want to help, but they need a little leadership or a little guidance in how to do it.
Yes, thank you, Lion Ron. Someone else? Go ahead. We got plenty of us here. I'll let 2 more in just in case.
As a pastor, I see it as doing what we're called to do by Christ.
There you go. So we all have different reasons, don't we? And we all have visions and missions that, you know, are our own agenda, but then we also are trying to form teams to accomplish these, aren't we? So, you know, how are our clubs fulfilling the vision and mission of our organization? Tell me how your club is. Just 2 people.
Stepping up to feed the hungry, to make sure that the local food pantries are able to function.
One of our
by
focus
volunteering,
areas.
Yeah, by volunteering or even financially supporting.
Someone else.
We're raising
By
money for
collecting glasses.
and
Go ahead. Everybody get a chance. Go ahead.
I'll go. By doing vision screen in our elementary schools and with preschools so that we can make sure that kids have the ability to see.
And isn't that a huge one, Lion Julia? I mean, there's those projects, like Project KidSight is such a huge thing, right? And it makes such a community impact. So in your district, what teams are important to fulfill our Lions vision and mission statements? Couple people?
Membership,
Mm-hmm.
service, and leadership.
Right. So those would be areas, but now membership and what teams? And that's a key word. And I'm sorry if I'm picking on you, but it's the perfect opportunity. And by the way, no one walks away from here disgraced. We are all winners because we're here. We're trying to work and improve ourselves. So what teams? And you guys, that might be a trick question. So quite sincerely, I'm kind of looking for a special answer here, and I'm going to keep drilling for a little bit till we get it.
So this is Glenn. So in our multiple, we're starting to implement the global extension team.
Yep.
To try to work at the district
Sure.
level to get new clubs.
You know, Lion Glenn, that's something that I didn't think of, and I'm really glad that you brought that up. So we do have a GAT team, don't we? And we're a team of leaders. What I was really looking for was something that I heard a little bit earlier. So like when Lion Julia said, you know, and I'm assuming that you were saying Project Kid Sight, but it was testing of kids' eyes. So we would say like maybe we had a Kid Sight committee, right? Many of us do. And I know in my district, we have that. We have different committees that serve different areas that we're interested in our district, don't we? Is that the case with everybody pretty much? Don't you think? So, all right. So even though there's many different segues that we can take, can't we all see the importance of following both our vision and our mission statements? I think we can. Let's move on to the next slide. If I can get there. All right. Now, let's just take a little bit of just a little side trip here. You know, how has being a Lion changed your life? Give me two people.
Well, I personally was in a very a lower place in my life, and I didn't feel any self-worth. And by becoming a Lion, I realized that I could be helping someone else, and that was the greatest gratification for me.
Thanks, Lion Jackie. And you know, isn't that the case with so many of us and so many people? You know, is that we're able to better ourselves just by helping others. Someone else?
I think I've learned the value of teamwork.
Teamwork, absolutely. So, have any of you folks had a difficulty getting team members? I think we all can probably, we know the answer to that one, right? It's going to be a yes. It's a resounding yes. Getting people to be on the team, sometimes that's a little bit difficult, isn't it? You know, and do you feel that teams in your district have adequate direction? And I would be interested in hearing from a couple of you people. Do you feel, you know, if you're passionate about this, have you got adequate direction?
I find that in 5M13, which is most of Manitoba, Canada, it's hard for us to get any real teams together because our population is mostly south of the #1 Trans-Canada Highway. But we also have clubs in the north. Like my farthest club for me to do a club visit when I'm district governor is 10 hours away from my house. So all of our teams seem to be the same people, which because of distance is hard to bring others in.
Is that because it's hard to communicate?
And maybe now in the Zoom world, it might be different, but in person, it's difficult to get new faces on the team.
Sure, because it's difficult to communicate, isn't it? Because of your distance?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay. That's a really good point. And let me ask you this. Does everyone here, is there anybody that your teams in your district, and probably by now, you're probably starting to catch on that I'm calling a team something other than just the GAT team, right? Is that, do your teams, do they have goals? Anyone?
We do in our district.
What district are you?
A lot of district 25E.
25E. Okay. And so like your committees, do they set goals?
They do. They set goals. They work together. They try membership summits, getting a lot of ideas and information to the clubs. The problem we have is the clubs they're asking for help, but they're not putting forth the effort to help themselves.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me drill a little hard. Can I use it? And I don't know what your name, because you're on a telephone. I don't know what your name is, but
Glenn.
Glenn. Okay, so Lion Glenn, can I ask you this? So do your committees, if you open up your roster book, do each and every one of those teams, do each of them have a goal, a written goal?
Not that is in our district manifest. that
Right.
we hand out to everybody. And that, I think that's part of the problem.
Thank you for volunteering that, because I was actually kind of looking for that part of an answer, because actually I get to see all of your goals that are made by your DGEs when they're starting to get up, and they have to put in the district goals for their year as governor. I get to see those, and actually all of you can see them. You can go on Lions Clubs International, you can search for them. I encourage you to do so, by the way. And the number of custom goals are very, 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 very few. Probably out of the 25 governors that I work with, probably one or two have a custom goal. All right. So what we're really trying to say here is that, are we setting goals? Are we building teams really? And then we talk about, are we getting the buy-in that we want? And I think we're going to start to realize, or at least I hope we start to realize during this webinar, that maybe there's something done on the leadership side that we can do to encourage our Lions. So do you ever feel like you're serving from the 50,000 foot level? That 50,000 foot syndrome in your district? Do any of you feel that way?
Yes.
Yeah. And isn't
I
that
think
the way go ahead.
I was going to say, I think everybody would have to answer yes to that, because if they haven't been there, because I'm a recycled past district governor doing this again.
Yeah.
And, I've seen it firsthand as being a district governor, and hopefully going through this again, I can make even more effective change.
Yeah. And isn't that what we want to do, is that we're sit there searching for an answer. And I think we're all pretty much in that boat, because we're playing the same record over and over, but expecting different results.
Yeah.
And that 50,000 foot syndrome, I think we get that from LCI in a way. And I don't mean this in a bad way towards LCI. If you guys know me and you know how I feel about LCI, and I certainly have had my differences, and as like everybody does, sometimes you get a little bit frustrated with such a large organization. But the fact of the matter is the folks at LCI, they really are our support people. They're there to help us, and they usually do a very, very good job. So, but when they're pushing out information to us, what are they pushing it at? They're pushing it to the whole world. So you get a lot of 50,000 foot, because you can't get anything else. But then when we start to get down on maybe the area level, or the much more so the multiple district and the district level, we can start to cater to the Lions and the communities that really we can affect the difference on. So we have to translate it, and it's up to us. And sometimes I think we're just not prepared to do that. So like if we were talking about membership right now, how do you feel about your current membership situation? And everybody except Indiana can answer. That's a joke. Indiana is on top of the world right now, because they have turned around a membership that I've yet to see them positive until this year, and they're killing it. They're doing a great job. But how do you feel about your membership? Anybody?
I think our district is doing decent. We have been working the past few years to provide resources to clubs to start to grow, to stop the bleeding. Many people know what that's like, where your clubs are just losing members, but you don't know why, but other people know why. And we're starting to see more growth, more ads, little by little, because we're doing the same thing that Indiana said before we officially started, where we're showing off our service. We're making a more concerted effort on marketing and providing training on marketing for people to learn technology and utilize that as part of their service, and getting people out there more. So we're not positive, but we're not bleeding to death right now. And we haven't been for 2 years.
But you're doing the right things, and it feels right. It feels right in your gut, doesn't it, Lion Sarah?
Yep. OH7.
It's 087. Okay. So you know what? Here's the deal. I had a whole bunch of other questions here, and I'm not even going to ask them, because you basically answered all the points that I wanted to get across. And thank you for doing that. Is that, you know what? We've got club losses. By the way, there's one thing that I will add with clubs here. If you've got a club that hasn't met since COVID started, you need to seriously get with like me or another leader and you need to start working on that club right now. There's probably about an 80% chance you're going to lose that club. All right. So time is not a healthy thing in this situation. Is that clubs should be meeting somehow. I mean, whether it's phone, person, I don't care, but they need to be meeting. They need to be doing something. We need to start returning to a normal. So now at the service level, are the services your district that your district encourages, are they meaningful? Go ahead, tell me your district too. Sorry, Shannon.
No problem. 5M13, Manitoba, Canada. Kind of an answer to both of your questions. My district is in a transition year. We've been in transition for a while. I have 48 clubs and only 850 members. So it's scary. But then I look at the positive in the town that I live in. We just inducted a brand new, what do you call it? We have a brand new Leos. We just inducted 12 new Leos, and we inducted 17 new Lions that are what kind of club is it? Branch club. Yeah, a branch club of the Crystal City Club that my husband and I are part of. This is my husband, by the way, my partner in service, David. Anyway, so that's exciting because by this coming Friday, we have it so by tomorrow, they should probably actually be a club, a standalone club, because I believe they have 5 more members coming in. So that's very exciting. I just need that to happen in every community in my district, and then I would be above the 850 and wouldn't be in transition anymore. But
perfect. Lion Shannon. So let me you're going to be my guinea pig now. Okay. So let me ask you something. Are the Lions, the new Lions, are they getting involved in service projects right away?
Oh my goodness, this club is on fire. And let me tell you a little bit about the Morden Roaring Lions. They are all new Canadians. So they are from India, Ukraine, Philippines, and I believe one from
Madagascar.
Madagascar. And there's also one from that just joined. I believe she's from China. So these are countries that a lot of them, like the people from India, have always wanted to be a lion, have never been able to afford to be a lion. So none of them have been lions before. So they have none of that. Well, 5 years ago, we did it this way. It's all new. It's all moving forward. They have done, I think, since they became a group in July, I think they've done 6 service projects already in our city.
Sweet. So they're excited about service. And are you marketing your service ahead of time and then marketing it afterwards?
We're slowly, sorry, this is Lion David here.
Yeah.
So we're learning how to, Shannon and I, we just went to Canada US Forum, and I did a seminar on branding, badging. I don't remember the whole name of it, about the whole marketing strategy, about telling everybody about it, before, after, not just showing up the medals, showing off the service projects that we do.
Right.
And
there has been newspaper coverage. They are social media. It's all over social media. So they're doing, this is like literally tomorrow's their second meeting. So it's just an exciting time to be a Lion in our community. So I'm very excited to see where they're going and to help implement.
Good for you. Lion Shannon, I've lived this one firsthand. My club was a dying club, right? And my wife, who had never been a Lion, and when I became district governor, she decided, okay, I'll be a Lion, because she got so much pressure, and through a lot of fun and goading and stuff like that, because she really is a good heart. But she decided she'd be a Lion. Of course, you end up club president. Isn't that the way it works in Lions right away? And then what happened is that she decided, after she was her last year as president, because they do it 2-year terms here, and she decided she was going to start Facebooking. And you mentioned you're in a very small town, right? You have small towns, but
small city. Yeah.
Yep. And what do these places do? They have Facebook, and ours has it. You're from Seaboard. You're from Unionville. When and they put it that they said like a blood drive. I think that's where they started. They had a blood drive, and they said, you know what, we're gonna have a blood drive. Please come. And they put all the advertisements, and they put several advertisements up there. Then afterwards, they said, hey, you know what? Here's what we did. We got like 30 some odd pints or whatever of blood, and you know what? People they're starting to go. We love Lions. Within 4 months, We hadn't had a new member in 2 years, but within 4 months, we had 4 new members.
Oh, wow.
What a difference it makes just telling the people in the public what you're doing and being inviting. Now, that leads me to my next point here, by the way, is that now if you're from Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, that's 11, 13, and 25, which is my love, the greatest districts, you know, in the United States, the Midwest Lions Alliance, right? Now, if you're in those areas, and I would assume that my counterparts, both past District Governor Gale and past Council Chair Matt, would agree with me. We want, and we know that you can do 100% service reporting. Now, what does that really mean? That means that we want you, each club in every district, to report one, just count them, one service project, just one. We don't need
MD
two.
13 knows that it can be done.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Lion Sarah. And I get to brag about MT13 because I'm very proud of them. Is that MD13 took the challenge last year. They were somewhat alone in this challenge when it ended. They were the only one on the globe to be able to represent themselves as 100% service. The only one. Now, this is something easy to do. Every club reports one thing. You have to have, in order to pull this off, there's some encouragement that I'll give you. Number one, have a district administrator so that you can pull this off, because the district administrator will help clubs that do not know how to report. And that's going to happen more than a little bit this year. Yeah, go ahead, Line Mike.
Just because I'm our district administrator. And I can tell you that roughly a quarter of the clubs would not have reported anything without having the district administrator. And I know that happened across the board in Ohio.
Sure.
If you don't have somebody who is willing to make phone calls, willing to take a lot of extra time, I would also recommend, and I'm doing this right now, start early. Don't wait until June to get all those clubs in.
Time flies when you're having fun. And you know what? I saw Ohio area or multiple district 13. I saw them starting to gain momentum, get excited, have fun, and you know what? It really showed. And one thing that we started to see is a pickup in membership with the pickup in service. It was one of those chicken and egg things. What comes first, membership or service, right? So if we move on to the area or to the leadership level, do all of our districts give zone chair training? Is there anybody that doesn't? Go ahead, sing out now.
Here in 25E, we've even simplified district zone and region training just to make it easier, because it's like we're beating the bushes and still not getting any flames for people to step up to be zone or region chairs.
Right. And isn't that about communication? Does anyone see the possibility, if we start to involve Lions and we start to get them excited, that they will start to participate, and you'll start to be able to pick out people, maybe not the same ones you thought originally, but new ones that want to fill those positions?
Well, Dave, I did the zone chair training that you offered. 25A didn't seem to offer anything else, so I did yours.
Yeah.
And in my zone, I've been trying for 2 years to find a replacement for myself, and no one's interested. So it's not just communication.
You're right. It's not just communication. It's excitement. It's having successes. Face it, we got 1.4 million people on the globe that paid to be here. So we know they want to be here. Now we have to figure out a way, and I will agree with you, Lion Joy, is that we have to figure on a way to engage them. And if we take the same approach every time, I think we find that we're going to get the same results. So I threw that out there because what I'm trying to exemplify here is that we all struggle getting leadership, don't we? And does your GAT team actively meet, maybe at least once a month?
11A1, mine does, the three of them, they work together. Some of their duties overlap, but they find that when they meet independently, just them, not me, they're able to really figure out what they need to do. And they're coming up with ideas as far as how can they service the clubs.
So yeah, first Vice District Governor Lula, thank you. And it says something to me. It says, you know what, your district, your way. But one thing that I can tell you pretty much across the board, that most of the GAT teams, and the GAT team is what? The district governor, the vice district governors, first and second, right? It is our GMT, GLT, GSTs, and our zone chairs, right? So it's basically our cabinet, right? So if they're meeting once a month, just on Zoom, do you think we'll have better communication and better leadership and better engagement for our Lions?
I think we have to define some causes that impact our clubs. Now, I just came off our leadership meeting, and we were identifying some problems and concerns we have with our club. And we, like everybody else, we have clubs that don't have any enthusiasm whatsoever. They are satisfied with being 2 or 3 members.
Yep.
So I think communication is fine, but one of the keys I feel is that we have to really have a personal touch with these clubs.
Okay.
And try to find out.
Yep, point taken. All right, let's move on. All right, so when we're talking about the global membership process, here's what we're really talking about. And I think a lot of people get this a little bit mixed up. We've got build a team in the process, build a vision, build a plan, build a success. You've all heard me say that. All right, and I think many people confuse this with both the global membership approach objectives, and LCI also calls this, once you get the objectives, they add one more element and call it the focus. So keep that in mind. When we use build a team, build a vision, build a plan, and build a success, what we're really talking about is team building and goal setting and goal accomplishing. All right. Now, when it comes to membership, I think we all realize as Lions that challenge or that task. But we need all of these things in place, a plan to get that done. If it comes to maybe KidSite or another committee, which is really a team, and I can tell you most of your teams or your committees do not have a custom goal defined at LCI. So what are we doing? We're really going forward without a plan in most cases. So this build a team, build a vision, build a plan, build a success, that is the ingredients for a team to start to become successful. And what have we done most of the way with the Midwest Lions Alliance or the Area 1I, where we actually have been successful, is we've done this exact process. So we know that it works. Moving on, I'm going to contrast that, build the process with the objectives right here. Rejuvenate districts with new clubs, revitalize clubs with new members, and then remotivate members with fellowship and exciting service. What are we talking about? We're talking about getting more clubs, getting more members, and retention. Isn't that the case?
As,
go ahead.
Okay. We just literally started a new club, brand new club.
Yep.
Made up of all first generation Africans, 40 and under families. We're excited about the prospects. We've started up several club branches over the last year. Definitely something that is an easy start somewhere, and it's been highly successful.
Yep.
Looking at the membership, I think right now we're at +7. We were as of last night in our district.
And Mike, what you're saying is that we, in other words, a team of people, right? And you had a plan.
But what I wanted to expand on that one point, it was a completely customized plan. There is no such thing as a club that was identical, had identical needs. We've had several clubs that have required different components of things that they needed to be done. So yes, there was a plan to customize the needs, the service to those clubs. And that's really
Right.
what it's come down to. You can't have a cookie cutter approach.
You cannot. And by the way, we're all the individual. We have all individual districts. We have individual clubs. So you do have to have a very customized approach. It's a really important point. So let me just look at this. You've got this. I'm going to be real quick with this slide because we're running a little bit late, I'll be honest with you. But if you look at these teardrop shapes on your slide right here, the one thing I want you to really get out of those tears should be real tears. All right. Over the last 40 years, and we're talking CA1, sorry, past District Governor Gill, I don't have CA2 numbers in here, but CA1 alone, we've lost over 300,000 lions and the service that it brings to our communities. Those should be real tears. It's time to reverse that. And if we can continue to do the same thing that we've always done, we'll continue to get the same results. So that's why we've got to work with teams. It's why we've got to build up our membership. I don't mean in numbers. I mean in both how we go about doing things, how we think about things, how we approach things, new ideas, and the new ideas have to be teamwork at this point in time. All too long, we have stuck, and I'm going to use the word stuck, our district governor with the job of building up the district. That's not a team. That's an individual, and it should be a leader that helps lead the teams. So I'm going to make that point. I'm going to kind of move on, but some of the things we need to do is build meaningful and functioning teams. We need to train our members. We need to place sincere, but meaningful and fun. And this is kind of a thing with me. It's fun, it's friendly, upbeat, and nice expectations in our Lions. We need to encourage our members. As Lions leaders, we got two tools. Remember, we are leading people, and we have people that paid to be in our organization. We have two tools to work with, and only two, by the way. We have positivity and encouragement. The stapler approach does not work with people. They just turn you off. All right. So we need to excite, a fun way in our members. They need to see value, and we need to bring back an emphasis on service. We need to share with someone your own joy of being a Lion. Forget about asking them to be a member. Share them what it means to you to be a Lion. And then finally, again, you've heard it twice already, but for the third time, we need to have fun. Fun is friendly, upbeat, and nice. It is the number one ingredient to get Lions if we're looking for membership or if we're looking to accomplish a goal. It is the number one ingredient. Now, this right here just depicts that this has been going on for quite a while. It is the global membership approach. It's been going on for 5 years. It started out with NAMI and pilot projects. It's now worldwide. Teams. They can start out as groups. However, not all groups really become teams, do they? Remember, without purpose and goals, you cannot be an effective team. All right. Now, I'm gonna step out on the edge a little bit. It's a little bit of training that I've gotten. John Maxwell is actually something that Jerome Thompson believes in quite a bit. He's actually trained in that area. I've been Dale Carnegie, but the Pareto principle is a big thing when it comes to teams, right? And you will see that if you don't write down your goals so that they can be communicated through your team, about only 20% chance of succeeding in your goal if they're not written down. Let's put it this way. You got an 80% failure rate at that point. There's another way of saying it. All right. If we want to get our team or our committee, open up your roster book and look in there. Those are all teams. If we want them to be successful, and aren't Lions and isn't anyone that when how many people have been on committees that they might have talked about a lot of plans, but didn't do a darn thing. But really, when it comes down to it, if they didn't write it down, they probably didn't do it. And they certainly couldn't communicate it amongst many different lions. So how would we ever expect anybody to know? They won't. They will not know what we're trying to accomplish in that committee or that team. And to me, it becomes truly a team when we write down those goals and we try to accomplish that. And we use the entire body of people to accomplish the goals that we wrote down. By the way, we, meaning the district governor-elect, they are going to be the ones that record that custom goal for our committees in LCI. And we should not be afraid of doing that. LCI is not the enemy. They are our support friends. So just want to get that out. So has anyone experienced a committee or a team where nothing much gets done?
Well,
Could
the
you talk
key
me to
point I
that?
think we need to make is that you can't say we're going to improve or it's going to get better. You have to have specific percentages and numbers for a goal.
You do. You have to have specifics and goals, and you have to write them down. If we start to go down that route, I guarantee you, it will pay off. You have to engage people. You have to communicate. One of the biggest problems that we have as Lions, most people, even when we say, they'll ask you if they're a non-Lion. Well, what do Lions do? They have no idea. Yet we're the number 10 most recognized brand on the globe. It says something. It says we don't communicate. Okay, I'm just going to read this. I'm not going to click on any buttons because there aren't any buttons because I kind of carve up these slides. But, members of an effective team may have individual goals, but these goals are linked to the overall goals that support the team's success, right? So in other words, we have to start choosing here. As an individual, I might like KidSight, right? Because I actually do. All right, but some of us, might like childhood cancer. And some of us may prefer, like to address hunger in our community, or, face it, there's more needs than there are clubs available, right? When we all can participate in different things. But as a district, or a club with many people where their strengths are leveraged, we have to focus ourselves on the specific tasks within each goal. So in other words, we have to define our goals, but then we have to set our personal goals aside and start following those team goals so that we actually are able to accomplish something, so that we become winners. And I think one thing that why we see people say, well, I don't know if I really want to step into that, because we don't see ourselves as winners, and because we're not setting goals and we're not seeing ourselves accomplish goals. I ask you to seriously consider that one point. Anybody have a comment on that? I put you to sleep, or I won.
I don't know that I agree that we don't see ourselves as winners. I think we see perhaps sometimes the challenges as insurmountable. And I think there's some people that give up, especially when they don't get the assistance that they are looking for, and say, I can't do this alone. And I think sometimes it's the lack of support from others within our district. And I know this happens on our club levels, it happens on our district level. When you're trying to do something, you only have 2 or 3 people step up, and you need more than that in order to accomplish a goal.
I agree with you, Lion Mike. And you know what? That's exactly what I'm saying to you, is if you look at this and you say, we have a team, but the goal within a team has to be written down so that we can communicate it, so that we can actually start to build that support. Because you're exactly right. How many people turn around and say, you know what, if you want to do it, I got to do it myself, right? Well, that's not a team. And as leaders, what we have to do is we have to encourage people to make a goal, i.e. in our committees, write those goals down, report those goals so they're actually visible. And by the way, sharing them helps all of your friends in different that are on this video right here. They can actually go and look at everybody else's goals, and they can get ideas for themselves. But write that goal down so that it's communicable. And then what can happen is is that people will see that goal, and we can actually, instead of having one person decide everything, we can start to leverage our strengths. And that's actually one of the next slides here, is that, let me see if I did that. No, I did. So in an effective team, the contributions of each member can affect the success of the other members, and it's important to the overall success of the group. In other words, we can leverage our strengths. So we might have a marketing person that is really good, but quite sincerely, me as a marketing person, I'm not very good at all. But as maybe somebody that can put together a ramp for somebody, I can do that really good. So I have my value, and the other people, the marketing people, they get the word out to the community. What does that do? That helps us build, if we're looking at membership, it gives us a way to get more membership. In my community, where we actually do build ramps, it actually gets us ramp material, because people when they have ramps to turn in, they call us and say, hey, we got a ramp here and we really don't want it. Do you guys want it? So it gives us raw materials. So teams, everybody is able to leverage their strengths, and that's the important part. Okay, let's move on. Next one, with each person's success dependent on fellow team members, and with group goals valued higher than personal goals, there's an increased expectations for success in an effective team. And we actually do have a more effective team, just simply because we're leveraging everyone's strengths. We're giving everyone the opportunity. And if you look at this, whether it's the club level, and I can cite examples that everybody has seen, the club level where the guy's president for life. How many of those clubs actually survive? None of them. They all die. Eventually they will die. So, the same's true of a team or a committee. Committee person for life, or there's one committee person that does all the work, they die. It just doesn't work long term. That's why we need to build teams. That's why we need to communicate all of this. So I ask you to consider that. All right, we got some words here. Direction and purpose, commitment, leadership, process, interdependence. Now, in addition to a successful leader, they realize that their team of lions has needs, and one of the important things that lions need, they have that emotional benefit of giving service, right? And having fun. I'm going to tell you one thing about fun. I interviewed two people for the Lions Pride of Michigan. There were two very successful district governors. One was the first one to get 100% service, and he had the highest membership of multiple District 11 for last year. His name is Ron Reichberger. And Jim Sawicki, he was the Upper Peninsula. Now, they're not really part of multiple 11, but part of Michigan, and we always include them. And one thing that I will say is that when I interviewed those guys, they said, I said, why is your membership so great? And they said, well, you're not going to like our answer. Well, of course I'm going to like your answer, because you got the secret ingredient. And they both said independently, an independent interview said, because we believe in having fun. All right, keep that in mind. All right, I'm going to move on from there. So teams achieve their best results when goals are established. I've made my point there already. I hope you believe that, and I hope you follow that. District governor-elects, you should be looking at your roster book. You should be going through the committees and saying, these are really teams. And teams really have to have goals, and they have to have written goals, and they should be written down. All right. The second thing is commitments are shared. In other words, we communicate them with everyone else. In our case, we post them as a custom goal, and then processes are followed. In other words, when we put up there on that goal, we put processes, and somebody said, and I think it was Lion Ron, said, you know what, we have to have written numbers and specifics in there. We actually do have to have that, because that will help give us some set points where we can actually see if we're accomplishing our goals, if we need to modify it. All right. Moving on. I'm going to say 4 words here. Really what I expected us to get out of this slide. It's forming, storming, norming, and performing. Now, does that look like anything you guys recognize that you've seen so far in the webinar? Yeah,
We discussed this at our, what were we at this last week? Oh, my second vice district governor training. Sorry,
Yeah.
I forgot where I was. Yeah, we discussed.
I was in partner service training.
Yeah, we
We didn't
discussed those
talk
last
about
four
that.
things.
We
Yeah.
talked about the fun.
Right. And you know what? Forming, isn't that building a team? Storming, isn't that thinking, building a vision? Norming, isn't that putting your plan down on paper, which is really the goals? Writing those goals down, that's what build a plan is, by the way. And then performing, that's build a success. And I wanted to throw that in there because it just throws a different set of words in there for you folks to understand that, hey, listen, this is part of a normal thing of building a team. One thing that I will say that Lions Club International has done very, very well over its history, and that is build teams. All right, here's some excuses. I've heard some of them tonight already, and they're good things. But here's the thing about reasons or excuses or whatever you want to call them. My wife hates it, but I always say, well, that's your reason to fail. And you know, of course, she knows that I don't believe in that real well. So, but it'll take too much time. Aren't we all time bound? Yep. Don't we all have? I'm unsure of my ability, and hasn't I know I have said it. You know, I'm not really sure. I don't want to get involved in that because I'm not sure I can carry that off. You know, actually, I'm building a house right now on an island somewhere out in Saginaw Bay, and you know what? I'm doing things I've never done before. I'm a computer jockey, right? I've never done this before. I'm not sure I can do it, but you know what? There is so much help, and if you build a team around you. As a leader, you build teams around you, you will have the help. My help might be YouTube. Yours might be your Lions that you're working with, because quite sincerely, that's who we are supposed to engage as leaders. All right, there won't be enough training. Now, here's one that's a killer. Do you guys know that there's FDI people and LCIP people, LCI people, that's Lions Certified Instructor Program, that's the one step above FDI, is that you know that there's people that would love to do webinars but never get called? They would love to train people in your district, never get a call. There's plenty of training available. I feel isolated. You know what? And isn't that the case? You know, we isolate ourselves all too often. It's kind of a safety mechanism, isn't it? But we can actually allow ourselves to let others in, and all too often we will find that we're successful when we do. And you know what? If there's a few challenges along the way, that's the way it's supposed to be. Maybe we'll become stronger for it. I'm going to kind of skip this slide. It didn't really have a lot of meaning to me, but I did want to focus on or talk about this tonight. There's two different things. They've called it both the objectives, and then they call it focus, areas of focus. And all they do is they add one item, and I'm going to add that right now. So when we're talking about global membership approach, we really saying two different things. As members, and we want to accomplish, our process is build a team, build a vision, build a plan, and build a success, right? In other words, it's goal setting and goal execution. But when we look at global membership approach areas of focus or objectives, it's really talking about getting membership. And if we look at our objectives or our focus, which I call them objectives, by the way, is new clubs, new members, member satisfaction, and leader support. That all centers around your GMT, but those are all teams. And by the way, those are part of the 5 big things that your DGE has to report every year for your district in order for you to play the game. Here's just a sheet to how you might organize things. If your sample organization chart, the one thing that's really valuable, I think, in this chart is you see the DGE doesn't have a line drawn to them. because your DGE is your leader. The DGE is not the doer. And I've said this once before, but I'll say it again. It's time for us to stop sticking it to our district governors. You wonder why you can't get a district governor? It's because we're expecting them to do all the work. Why? Because we're not building teams. There's a simple way of doing this. You build a team. We have people on committees. If they're struggling to get a goal down, start with simple things. It doesn't have to be monumental. I can tell you almost every one of your districts does not have any goals for their committees. Don't write them down. You certainly don't report them. So if we look at this from a little bit different angle, our district governor, his job is to be positive and to encourage. Same thing with our vice district governors. Their job is to be positive and to encourage and maybe carry out some special projects that are really important to the district. But then we look at our teams that we have in place. You know, when people say, you know, I don't know how to build a team. I don't know what to do building. You already got teams. Start using them. That's my point. Okay, who can be on the team? You know, I think we all realize there's a membership chair, there's zone chairs, there's, you know, just members at large, there's club leadership, there's the whole GAT team. But I think the important thing on this slide is the very bottom part, and it's Lions that make an impact. And in the second series of the Build a Team, the Build a Vision one, is where we start to look when we start to talk about our district and we start to talk about our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Many of us area leaders kind of believe in just talking about opportunities and challenges because we've kind of figured out after a while, once you get past two of these, people start to lose interest. All right. So, and doesn't challenge, and you can do it either way that you want when you get into Build a Vision. But when it comes up to seeing, you know, what your opportunities and your challenges and your opportunities, or your strengths, your weakness, opportunities, and threats, you know, really kind of comes out the same. You want to list those so that you can start to engage your district and see what new Lions, and especially your new Lions, what they are doing and what they like to do, so that you can start to get new leaders. All right. So, does anybody want to venture into saying what's the difference between a team and a committee?
I feel like a committee should be empowered for action. A team might not necessarily have a set mission or goal that might be actionable, but a group that wants to work together.
Does everybody agree with that? I'm a jerk, I know, but it's what I do.
If that was Sarah, then obviously not, because she, that would be Sarah, but yeah, no, it is accurate.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you both, and I'm going to tell you why. We've had committees forever, and it's not so much disagreement. It's disagreement in the words that we've used forever, right? We've had words on the table. How many of you folks have a kid site committee? Most of you are probably, right? How many of you have maybe a hunger committee? How many of you, all right, how many of you have if you're in Michigan, like one of ours, we have a Bear Lake Camp committee that I'm on, all right? So it's a sight and hearing impaired camp near Lapeer in my own district. So I'm on that committee, all right? We've abused the word committee to the point where I'm kind of trying to set a differentiation here, and I might not be totally correct in saying this the way you visualize it, but what I am trying to say is that when we say team, we say that we are a group of people, just like a committee, right? But that we have set written goals, and we have reported those written goals. We've made them custom goals and put them up on LCI. Why? Because we already know if we don't write those down, there's an 80% chance they're never going to happen. So that's why I'm making a distinction between committees and teams for you. Many of us refer to our roster book. Open up your roster book. Look at the teams there. And what are you gonna, or the committees, teams? See there, I've already mixed it up. So you're right, actually. And after all, Sarah, you got it nailed. But what I'm saying is, if you look there, those committees are usually do not write down their goals, and they usually don't accomplish much. How many times have you sat through a district cabinet meeting where you've heard no report, or they didn't even show up? And I think we all know that that is 100% true. So what I'm saying is that we got to start making the differentiation. When you say, when we're encouraging you to build a team, yeah, we are. That team, most of the cases you got them, but we got to start treating them just a little bit different, right? And that's what we're going to get into next. All right. So on a team, and if any of you know PID Justin Faber, Justin and I are pretty good friends, and he's done a project that's going to just start moving out through the United States right now, and hopefully to the rest of the world, I think he feels. But it comes down to accountability and expectation of leaders. Can you fire a leader? That sounds pretty harsh, and I hated when I first heard that. No, not good. I don't want to hear that. But it comes down to accountability, right? Is that should someone, a leader, if they are a team member, even, should they be accountable? Absolutely. We expect it because we're dependent on them, aren't we? Should they be flexible? Absolutely, because you know what? In teams, we got all different kinds of people. We've got one guy in my club. He's the club secretary. He's the club secretary forever, and we want it that way, right? Why? Because the guy, he's an epileptic. He can't really do many other things. It's at a severity level where he can't do a whole bunch of different things. But he loves being club secretary, and he does a good job at it. So you know what? We broke the rule a little bit. You're supposed to change him over. Nah, we didn't. But we function really well as a club. So it says something. Communication. Part of writing goals down is communicating them. That's why we write them down. We also make it so that, hey, this is how we visualized it. And if we're going to change it, we got to get together as a team and change it, right? So we're able to communicate those goals. Dedication. Should a person want to be on that team or committee? They should. If they don't have an interest, if they don't care about it, they're not going to do anything, right? We got too much of that already. And then respect. We all have our things that we want to do, but we all have to respect each other. And you know what? Maybe somebody isn't good at something, or maybe somebody does something a little bit different than us, or maybe they're a PR person on the ramp committee. You know what? It takes everybody on that team to function, and we can use every one of them. So we got to have a little bit of tolerance for each other. It may not, when I make that point, save the best for last, that would be the respect one. Have you ever not seen this not be the case? I just dealt with one of these a couple weeks ago. I've actually had a few of these, but one of these is really sticks in my mind. It was over a club that hadn't met for quite a few years. And one of the district governors wanted to be what I call a stapler. We're going to put demands on them. You know what they're going to do? They're going to tell you to go take I. That's what they're going to do. And you know what? That wasn't necessary, because quite sincerely, there were ways to be able to save this club. And in this club, their biggest problem was fear. They were afraid. And you know what? That was easy to overcome. So when we work together, respect, it goes a long way. I'm going to kind of skip this slide. This is one of the slides that you're going to use when you actually, and you should, the thing that this brings, that each of the DGEs, with the district governor's blessing and help, I might add, should be putting on a build a team session. This is where your DGE, you're going to get your committee set for next year. You're going to start to get in everybody's mind that we should be getting a goal in place. If getting a goal is a very positive thing because we want to accomplish things. Sorry, that's my phone here. Maybe I can get that so it's a little quieter. In any words, what you're going to do as part of your Build a Team webinar, and I suggest you do as a webinar, but you can do it in person, is you want to start aligning your teams, what people's passions are, what their purposes are, especially with your new members, right? All right, I'm going to throw out, LCI just loves to do quotes, and so and this is one of the quotes I actually allow to go through. I don't care for quotes a whole bunch, but it comes down to is that alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. Helen Keller quote gives me a chance to put in a plug. Helen Keller's I'm a great fan of Helen Keller. I actually got to visit her birthplace this last August, and Area 1I, or Midwest Lions Alliance. We are putting on a webinar on December 11th at 7:30 in the evening. And actually, anyone that wants to be part of this, feel free to contact me. I'll get you an invite. But we have someone from the Helen Keller birthplace. She's just going to give us neat little facts and stories of Helen Keller and Helen Keller's birthplace. Make it a fun night, December 11th, kind of a December surprise. Next steps. After Build a Team, we do Build a Vision. Actually, we're going to do a webinar and Build a Vision. And I'm going to do these mostly as webinars from this point out. But the thing that I do promise everyone is that if you want a replay of Build a Team, we will do it. And you just send me a few dates and I'll replay it for you. So if people missed it, there's no reason to say, to be stressed about missing any of these. I know DGEs have a lot of pressure put on them, and some people just like to watch things a second time. We're going to try to do this as a video. It's just going to be time dependent whether we can do it. So when you're doing Build a Vision, you need to obviously start to get that. If you're going to do it in person, when you got to select your time, your date. Who's going to be your facilitator? If you need help as a DGE, then quite sincerely, area leaders will help. Sometimes the multiple district people will help. If you want to go as high as my boss, who's Jerome Thompson, who's a CA1 leader, he loves to do Build a Vision. He actually did it for me last year, and he's done it for multiple districts. So there's many different options. Be sure to reach out to past District Governor Gail or past Council Chair Matt. They all have their own resources as well. The purpose of this slide is get into the Lions Learning Center. Now, DGEs, they've already been exposed to this, but if you go into the Lions Learning Center, and they actually have some pretty good stuff. It's pretty elementary, but it's pretty good. It's some of the basics that a lot of people miss. Effective teams, effective listening, introductions to SWOT analysis, and I hate the name, but it's a very important process. I like to look, in most of my webinars, what I like to do is identify challenges and opportunities. I think that really gives people a chance to talk about their district, especially. I think it's less threatening words than SWOT. Goal setting. Goal setting's a biggie, and they have a very good class on goal setting inside the Learning Center. Another thing that you might want to look at is the District Strategic Plan Workbook. It talks about many different things. It talks about reports and stuff that you can get. That one is a little bit less important as we start to get into next year. As you all know, we are going to have a different IT system by then. So, the moment you all been waiting for. Questions. And I'm gonna I'll answer questions, but Gail and Matt, please jump in. I've either succeeded or failed. You guys can all holler at me, or you can we can have a discussion on what's really important for and what questions people have. So go ahead, folks. Feel free to unmute and ask a question.
Dave, past council chair Tim here. I meet with the area leader Gail on a regular basis, well, every day.
I noticed by the name.
So are you invoking the idea that going forward, the district should be eliminating committees and creating teams? So a site and services team as opposed to site and service committee?
Yes and no. I don't care about the name so much, past council chair Tim, but I care that one thing that we are saying here is you can call it late to lunch, but make sure you set a goal for it and involve a teamwork approach. So we've had a teamwork approach, or we said we did have a teamwork approach, like when we had committees, but we never wrote down goals. We never made goals. We never reported those goals. And we know for a fact when that happens, chances are that the goals of that committee will fail. So what we're really saying, you've already got teams. So when LCI talks about building teams, whether it's in membership, whether it's in KidSite, we're talking about a process. And if you look at that process, that 4-step process, that is the way to get things done inside of a team. Now, if you can call it a committee if you like, but most Lions don't make the distinction. And what they really need to make the distinction is are they going to be successful at what they do? Are they going to engage people? And if you're going to engage people, you've got to write it down. You've got to empower people inside of that committee or that team to do things. And you have to be able to verify it with certain I think it was, I forget who was that mentioned, but you got to have set points in order to verify that you're actually doing what you said you were going to do.
I kind of throw out the team aspect of it because Lion Gill and I are transplants. We came over from MDC and into Saskatchewan. And part of what we've been discovering here is a lot of the things that have been in place for years and years and years. We've encouraged the district governors in the last 2 years because we're new to the district. Why is that there? And they've been dumping some of the committees.
Good.
So by converting the committees to teams, it might be a chance for some of the district governors to clean house. So if you had a committee that's been there for 100 years and one of the older PCCs or district governors says, we got to keep that committee. It's doing good things, but it hasn't done anything in the last 5 years. Maybe make it disappear because you've created a new team approach. I just throw that out as an idea, as a way to kind of convert what's going on. I do know my current district governor and his predecessor is now the council chair. They cleaned off a few things because what was the point in having them? And so just a thought.
Lion Tim, thank you so much for bringing that up because it's an excellent point. And that is part of, and I did, it's hard to get through, once you get over the hour mark, you start losing people. But what we do is that while we're building our teams, we have to look, are these the teams or the committees? And you choose your word. But we have to have teams that are functional and do things. If they're just baggage that we're carrying along, it's time to get rid of them.
I'd like to throw out a point as far as call them what you want, committees or teams. A lot of the quote unquote committees on at least the cabinet level, and I'm trying to do some of the cleaning myself moving in next year, but it's single person. You have a committee chair and you tell them, okay, you fill your committee, and it's a placeholder position because it's different position. Still, it's not an effective system, and there doesn't seem to be a way short of forcing the issue where you can combine things to make it a little bit more user friendly. So, combining the committee chairs so that you have more of a larger scope of the position, but you have more people involved, I think would be a better use of individuals. A smaller, leaner cabinet that actually has people who want to do work as opposed to a bunch of space fillers because you're told to hold those positions. I don't know what the answer is because I'm not going to, there's positions I'm not going to fill simply because I refuse to put anybody on my cabinet who I haven't seen attending a cabinet meeting the last 2 or 3 years who has been holding positions.
You know, I think the challenge there, and was that Lion Mike that said that?
Yep.
Yeah. You know, I think the challenge there is to have to fill it with people that take an interest, and it's okay to maybe move outside of tradition once in a while if there's just space fillers. Move outside that envelope a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good practice. It's okay to take a chance on somebody if nothing's going to get done anyway. Hey, take the chance.
Right.
You know, another thing I like to keep in mind when we talk about building the team is that you're actually going out there and recruiting people who have specific skill sets. You're not just trying to get bodies to dump into something. So I like to use sports analogies, right? When we're building our football team, if we have a weakness at certain places, we're only looking to upgrade at those positions, right? We're not getting rid of the entire team and starting over. So we need to be more strategic in how we're building those teams too, so that we have the people with the skills on those teams that we need to be successful with what our goals are.
So true. Thanks, past council chairman.
Past District Governor Ron from District 11A1. And I've been listening a long time. I haven't said anything, but the information is very valid. I like the discussion about the semantics of team versus committee. And really, it really doesn't matter what you call it, as long as you, no matter whether it's a team or a committee, that you use the global membership approach, where you build a vision, you build a team, you build a vision, and you build a plan, and then success, celebrate success. But in doing that, in saying that, you would have to develop that those outcome measures that you want to look at, that you want your team or committee to accomplish. And unless you do that, unless you have those outcomes that you can look at the end of the year, then you haven't really accomplished much. So the bottom line is, set up your goals and objectives at the start of the year. I'm a past district governor, so I've seen a lot of, I was governor in 98, 99, so I've seen a lot of governors come and go. I've seen all their plans come and go. But what's important is that there be something that sticks. And the thing that sticks is what you're remembered for. Did you accomplish what you set out to accomplish? And no matter whether it's a team or a committee, each team or committee should set out their goals up front.
Absolutely, and in writing.
Yes.
Thank you.
In
very
writing.
much.
It can't be thought about. It's got to be in writing, or else it doesn't exist.
Well, it tends to also somewhat change, and then we all get skewed views of what's going on, and we can't communicate if we don't write it down, can we?
Right.
So, go ahead. Did you have something, Lula? Or okay, I thought I heard somebody skip in there. Let me throw out a comment for you, or a question, better yet, is if we're building teams. Now, there's certain teams that we know they're part of the big 5 goals that LCI, makes every DGE report for the district when they start their year, right? And by the way, you have until the end of December to be able to change those. So any district governor sitting here, or anybody that's on those GAT teams, keep that in mind. We can still change our current year district goals until the end of December. Then they become set in stone. There's those big 5, and we all got to report it because you can't play the game without them, right? But, and those are the things that measure a governor during their year. You know, all of us past district governors, we know that, you've got then your year will be sealed in stone, all that stuff. But now let's look at goals that are maybe like a Project Kid Site goal. All right. Our district does a lot of Project Kid Site. And one of the things that we like is before the foundation took over the cameras is we were trying to build another camera. We were struggling getting that done. And the reason why was because next year it's going to change. And then the next year it's going to change. Is there any reason why you can't set a goal that could span a part of a year or maybe more than a year if you're working with a particular committee?
I think that this is Lula from 11A1. I think if there is a collaboration with others that will be involved, you can do that. But if you don't collaborate with others, then it's going to end at the end of your term.
Exactly. So we have to write the goals down. We have to be able to transmit them to other people. Then we might be able to pull that off. And that's one thing that I've said, we get so hung up on this. They're district goals now, but we all used to call them district governor goals. But we get so hung up on that is that we're focusing on that. And how many of those do we really accomplish? Would we be more successful if we allowed goals to maybe span just part of a year because we can accomplish that goal in that time, or maybe more than a year because it might be a multiple year goal? And it might not be easier for our DGEs to report that? And wouldn't those projects be more successful if we planned them out? Maybe they don't fit in a year.
We've been working on that in our district. Our current district governor and I have been talking about making changes and revitalizing district leadership. So it doesn't feel like a chore and it's not the same faces. And so we're working over 2 years right now on things that she's starting that I'll continue. And then I do have a short-term goal, and that's to have 5 brand new people on the district cabinet, 5 brand new faces that have not yet served on a district cabinet, and to cut 3 to 5 positions from the district cabinet.
Ooh.
And you know what? Those are all, those can all be great goals, Line Sarah. And I appreciate you bringing that up and the agreement, because I actually think that is part of the thing is that we wear our district governors out. And that's why you really don't want anybody to jump into those positions. Once you get elected, that it's like you're the new goat, and your team. You don't have any team. It's just get to work. That doesn't work. It doesn't work long term. Anybody else got any questions, comments? Do you totally disagree?
Hi, it's Gail. My only comment is that all of these goals that we're setting, unless you know that for sure it's going to be less than a year, it all should be long-term. To get new members, to revitalize clubs, to do any of those goals takes time. And it's not something you can snap your finger and it's going to happen. When I was district governor, I involved, the rest of my district governor team as to what the goals were, where we were going, and they carried on with those goals on in time. I mean, the goals haven't really changed that much if you take a look over the last few years, but you have to make sure that, that it's a more long-time project, because sometimes it's just going to take time to get everybody trained, to get everybody up to speed and to achieve those goals. It's not something that you may be able to achieve in that year.
Thank you.
Which begs the question, if your goals are not achievable within the time frame that you've already been set, is it a goal that's pursuable? I mean, I appreciate a 3 to 5 year strategic plan, but if you're biting off too much in 1 year that you can't accomplish, what is the risk to the team's morale to that?
Point well taken. So it's got to be a balance goal. In other words, it's got to be a SMART goal, doesn't it? You know,
So
in the case, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So Dave, how about this? Here's a novel idea.
It's saying that your internet is incapable, and I think it's on their end. I don't.
There. I muted. They didn't quite know. So go ahead, Ron. I'm sorry. Actually, you're muted now, Ron.
There are 3 governors at one time: the governor, the first, and the second, and then you have immediate pass. How about if they are made a team of those governors to cover a 4-year span of strategic planning, and each one of them would have their opportunity. But if you're the immediate pass, obviously your goal that you set should have been accomplished within the 4 years. Is that plain? 4 spots.
I'm going to ask a question to you, Ron. Are you talking about a strategic plan, or are you talking about an objective? Because I can understand having like a 5-year plan or a 4-year plan, if you will, where you guys are looking to accomplish a series of objectives over that period of time. But in terms of goals, I've always been taught through all the training I have, a goal is a SMART goal. You have to be able to accomplish it within this period of time, and it has to be achievable. So I'm not, if you're talking about a series of objectives, then I'm 100% in agreement with you. Having a 5-year plan is what we try to do in our own district. And that's a constantly modifying thing as issues come up. But they can't be really goals in the sense of an actual goal, unless you have something within those objectives that becomes a goal because you need to accomplish it. Does that make sense?
I think it does to me, Lion Mike, because it's got to be time bound, and the time can't be eternal. But from the other standpoint, past District Governor Ron is saying that we also can start to maybe slow and steady wins a race. We can start to build upon a plan and make that objective something that lasts more than 1 year.
Then I could agree with if it was an objective. Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, I still think it makes the point is that goals, you know, and committees, I think I've heard a couple things here. Number one, committees or teams do not have to have an infinite lifespan. We can actually kill them off after a while if they're baggage. And another thing that I think is probably true that I've heard is that we should write these down. They've got to be communicable. We know that already. But another thing is that it can span more than a year. If there's a need for that, we just have to have the steps written down so that they're specific. You know, they're SMART goals. They're time bound. So I think there's a little bit of middle ground there, but it comes down to is that goals can be more than 1 year in length, and there's certainly a thing that can be said is that one of the goals that is kind of like one of those eternal goals for membership is that my membership in my district is going to be the 5-year average +1. I mean, that is the thing that everybody marches to, isn't it? So that we know that goal is always going to be in place. You could maybe do better than that. Like even this last year, it wouldn't let you do worse than that.
You know, I just finished second vice district governor training in Brainerd, Minnesota this last week. And Dennis Kelly was one of our trainers. And he had mentioned that even at international level, when years ago, I don't know, I've only been a Lion for 7 years, so I'm not sure how long ago this was, but when there was an international president in, he had his goals and he had his whatever was going to happen. And as soon as his year was done, the next president would come in and he'd have a whole nother set of goals and a whole nother. And so it was like restarting every single time a new president came in. So I do agree with having goals building, like now that our presidents, they kind of piggyback on each other. So we're not starting over our organization every single year. So yeah, building on goals from your past district governor is great. We don't have a first vice district governor in 5M13. So we have our district governor right now, Dwayne Monker, and then I am in 2024. So I know that him and I will, and we actually, our past district governor, our immediate past district governor stepped off of our cabinet. So he's no longer with us either. So it's just Dwayne and I right now. So I'm helping him, he's helping me, and he's agreed to stick with me when I go into my year as well, and work on it together, because I truly believe in the team effort myself. So
Yeah.
that's just my opinion, my 2 cents.
And the thing of spanning goals, it actually came from a little bit different idea, a little bit different focus, is that, as a district, we might start a goal for that team in the middle of the year. And it might be because some catastrophic event or some need arose in the middle of the year. Well, sorry, we got to wait for 6 months before we can even think about this. Wasn't that kind of ridiculous? As Lions, we're a little bit more mobile than that. We're a little bit stronger, and we can make a goal that starts out maybe if it's in an eyesight program or whatever program, whatever kind of focus area that you want to get into, but where you set that team. But we can make that goal in the middle of the year. We can start it. It can span into next year, because if it takes a year and a half or a year or 9 months and you start halfway through, there's every reason in the world, if it's a needed thing in your community, there's every reason in the world to do it. So we don't have to span, we can have goals continue on throughout a year. They don't have to end with the governor. And I really appreciate that, Second Vice Shannon, for bringing that up.